Hello and welcome to another edition of the Optimize Show. I am David Romano, your host every Wednesday morning. Brand new episode on our website, on YouTube. Like us, love us, share us. Thanks for doing that. Today on the show, I have a great guest. I've known her for quite a while, and it's going to be a really exciting and learning type of interview today. So I hope you pay attention right to the very end. Today in the show, I have Dr. LaShunda Leslie-Smith. LaShunda, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate it. We've been trying to do this for quite a while.
It's been a while.
But you had to reschedule because you're kind of a big deal.
I don't know about that, but busy for sure.
Yeah, excellent. Well, you've done a lot of great things in the community. We met probably 5 or 6 years ago, maybe more at this point, when you were starting, you were president and CEO of the Young Women's College Prep Charter School, which was a very innovative school at the time. And today we're going to talk about all this. Today you've moved on. You're doing, you have two companies, right? Scent One Consulting, which you're going to tell us about, and then Connected Communities, which we're going to learn more about. You've been a TEDx speaker.
Yes.
You are an author. You are a 40 under 40. I'm boosting your ego right now, aren't I? Right? You've been an Athena finalist, which is quite an accomplishment as well. And you also, if that wasn't enough, you also are the creator organizer of a conference called the Epic Women's Conference, right?
Yes.
You had this year. You had about 300 people there. It's a 2-day event at the convention center. You're going to do it again next August 9th and 10th. So we're going to go over all of that.
Oh, wow.
But why don't we just start at the beginning? Tell us about your journey. Like, what was the impetus of you starting to say to yourself, you know what? I am on the road to success. I am on the road of making a difference in the world. Where did it all begin?
Yeah. Well, I was just sharing off camera that I am preparing to do a pecha kucha. Are you familiar with pecha kuchas?
I have no idea.
I believe it's Japanese for chit chat. It's basically a quick presentation, about 6 minutes, 40 seconds. You get 20 slides, 20 pictures, 20 seconds each. And there I had some time to think about the evolution of my life and how I became who I am today. And it started, a young girl born and raised in the city of Rochester in an urban community, transient family, highly impoverished. And as I was thinking about preparing for this pecha kucha, I thought to myself, I want to talk to young LaShunda, and I want to tell her about dreams she didn't know that she had. Because in that community, what I saw was a lot of devastation. I grew up in a home full of domestic violence. Didn't always see who I could become, which is why working at YWCP was so special for me, because I wanted to share with those girls in grades 7th through 12th grade that if you can see it, that was a charter school, If you can see it, you can be it. And so I was just very, very fortunate to have people, mentors, friends, family members who came, surrounded me, and helped to pull me out of circumstances that would say I would be a statistic, that would say my options were limited. And somehow, by the grace of God, in spite of becoming a teen mom and, starting a family so young, graduating from high school on time, going to college at St. John Fisher College, getting my bachelor's degree, getting my master's degree at both Brockport and at Nazareth College, and now earning a doctorate in social work from the University of Southern California.
Congratulations.
So, thank you.
That's incredible.
Thank you.
So I know you said that some friends and family pulled you out. Is there a moment or a person that you could say that was like really helped you to see the light of who you could become and get out of that cycle, as you say? Yeah,
there's so many moments. I think to really come out of that kind of traumatic background, there isn't usually one thing. There's a series of things that can happen, but one thing does stand out. So I was 16 years old working at Seabreeze Amusement Park. And a friend of mine and I, we were lamenting over the fact that our peers were going off to college or going back to college. And she said, "Don't worry, LaShunda, in 2 years, we'll be going off to college too." And at that moment, consciously or unconsciously, but there was a pause where I thought to myself, we, as in both of us, will be going off to college in 2 years. It was something I had never even considered. It wasn't anything anyone had even offered me. But it planted a seed in my heart, and it got me to thinking about the possibility of me actually going to college and how that could ultimately change the trajectory of my life.
Isn't that something? So that one friend that said that one sentence gave you a vision that you hadn't even considered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's an important point to just pause and think about how powerful words are to young people.
Yes, for sure.
You know, back in, 20 years ago plus, I was a compeer, big brother, big sister type of thing, right? And I took out a kid once a week who, very similar situation, lived in the city, impoverished. Parents meant well, but didn't really know much. But I saw he was very smart. We'd go on walks, he'd name birds. And I'm like, I don't know what kind of bird that is. And he's naming all of them. He's very intelligent. And I said, Robert, you're going to college someday. And he literally was like a young Richie Cunningham, like, what? Who, me? Oh, shucks. Had never thought about that, And then his mother even said, no, he can't afford college. And it's like, there's scholarships, there's grants, there's loans. We can make it happen.
Yeah.
Years later, he called me, and I still think about it and start to cry. He said, hey, Mr. Dave, I'm in college because of what you said. And that one thing that I said, and that one thing that your friend said.
Yeah.
So really important to remember the words that we use. It can inspire a life change.
Absolutely.
Right. So congratulations for
Thank you.
moving on that, right? Because not everybody would move on that either. Some people may say, I can't go to college, right? So you were instrumental in the beginning of the Young Women's College Prep Charter School.
Yes.
Tell us about that a little bit.
So Young Women's College Prep is Rochester's first and only all-girls public school. And my job as president and CEO of the foundation was really to be the face of the school, to advertise the school because it was brand new in Rochester. We'd never had an all-girls public school. We had an all-girls private school. And then the most important and probably the most meaningful and satisfying part of that job was getting girls outside of their 5-block radius. So my office created programs that would help them see themselves beyond their 5-block radius, beyond their circumstances. And so we raised money to ensure that every girl went to at least 2 college visits every single year from 7th grade to 12th grade. They could see themselves on a college campus. We created the 9th grade academy or 9th grade college immersion experience where they got to live on campus for a week and take college classes and even participate in floor meetings, the experience of living in a dorm room. We tried to create these experiences that we knew would probably be vastly different from their everyday life so that they could see what they could become. And it was very, very fulfilling work. Yeah.
Well, because now that environment becomes somewhat familiar to them.
Yes.
They don't feel like a fish out of water.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I know, a lot of underserved teens will go to a college and it's their first time out of that 5-block experience. And sometimes they drop out because of this the complete culture shock, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. The retention rate of urban youth, it's not that we can't get into those institutions at the same rate as our white counterparts. It is the cultural shock once you get on a campus, particularly if you've grown up in an urban community where everybody around you looked like you. And now you're in another community where no one looks like you and no one quite understands you and doesn't understand what your hair is doing and all of these different things. And you have to navigate through those waters. And more often than not, these first generation college students don't have parents that they can call and say, well, how did you get through that? Or grandparents or aunts and uncles or cousins. So the work that YWCP did went beyond the school time frame that they were there. Once they graduated, the college counselor stuck with them throughout the college experience, which really helped them to sustain and be able to get through it. Yeah.
What were once you guys got kind of the flywheel turning, what were the rates of students graduating, going to college? Oh my
goodness. I mean, the first few years of our graduation rate was 100%.
Wow.
And beyond that, it maintained in the high 90% of all of the girls graduating, and a good percentage of them actually going to college and going into the work field. And that was the goal, to really get them through high school, prepare them either for college or for work.
Yeah. And obviously we know a lot of problems with the city school district, and I can't imagine their going to college rates are anything near that, right? So
and as a matter of fact, being an alternative for families was a big deal. Not just the fact that it was an all-girls school, but oftentimes we had girls coming in at 7th grade reading on a 2nd grade reading level. That was another thing that my office was responsible for, fundraising for programs that could help these girls catch up. Because think about it, you're 7th grade, you read on a 2nd grade reading level, and we're trying to go for 100% graduation, 100% college entrance. Like, we're so far away from that. But our office was able to raise funds, and we saw girls coming in at that 2nd grade reading level and then jumping up to 7th grade, 8th grade, sometimes superseding, because they just didn't have the support, the one-on-one attention, the tools that were necessary, the resources. And so that was, talk about satisfying work. It was really great.
On that note, it's fantastic. And then it makes me feel so sad because, for the other kids, because it shows that these kids do have the potential.
Yeah, for sure.
Under the right environment.
Absolutely.
Right? So, well, great work with that. And you were there for how many years?
I was there for 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now you have, since then, you're doing 2 new things. We talked about Scent One Consulting and Connected Communities. Tell us about both those organizations.
Yeah, so I was at YWCP, as I said, for 3 years, and I got tapped to come to Connected Communities. And I didn't think I ever wanted to leave YWCP because, as I said, the work was just so fulfilling. I saw myself in those girls. But Connected Communities was just starting. It was a brand new nonprofit organization that was doing neighborhood revitalization in 2 of Rochester's poorest neighborhoods. And what I saw when I was at YWCP is that we provide all of these resources. We raised all these funds to give these girls everything that they needed. But at the end of the day, we sent them back home. We had them for 6 hours. They would go back home, and sometimes they would come back to us unraveled. And so I thought, if I have an opportunity to really impact the built environment around these girls, the schools that are in those communities, the homes that they have access to, making sure that those communities aren't food deserts and food swamps, then we could really make an impact. Then when they go to school for those 6 hours, what the educators can do with them there is far greater than what we could do with the girls at YWCP. And so I said yes to that. 8 years ago, we are working across 4 different pillars: housing, education, wellness, and workforce economic development, because it's important to do all those things if you're really going to break the cycle of poverty and really help people to live, work, and play safely in their community. Yeah,
so you are really making a tangible difference.
I think so, yes.
Well, what's frustrating for me as a lifelong Rochesteran, I love Rochester, there's been a lot of talk. A lot of talk about how we're going to save Rochester. And, get rid of the poverty. And sometimes it's just talk, right? But it's great to see, no, you actually are rolling up your sleeves and creating tangible results.
Absolutely, and it's not just me, and it's not just my staff. It is us partnering with the residents who live in that community. Many of my staff members actually are homeowners in that neighborhood, so they have some real skin in the game. And we are working to develop resident ambassadors, and we're working to develop block ambassadors, and really helping people to take their own block back. I believe that it's so important that folks have what we like to think of as resident confidence. This is someone who cares so much about their community. They're planting flowers in their yard. They're taking care of their lawn. They're making sure that they're not throwing down trash, but they're also going to hold other people accountable who come into their community. And make sure they're not throwing down trash. So our job is to partner with those people to reactivate their own communities, reactivate those economic corridors.
To take pride in their community.
Absolutely.
Trim the bushes, plant the flowers, paint the house, make it look nice.
It makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you can do that even when you're poor, right? And then you have to think that makes you want to, improve other areas of your life too.
Absolutely.
Right?
For sure. And then we're also going after things like climate justice. I mean, sometimes what people don't think about in urban communities and poor neighborhoods is tree inequity, as an example. If I have to walk from 5 or 6 blocks to the grocery store and there's no tree-lined streets,
Yeah.
then the impact on me as I'm walking, because I don't have transportation to carry all these groceries, I'm under temperatures that's 15 degrees hotter than somebody else who's driving in their vehicle. We're thinking about even those kinds of things and partnering with residents to come up with solutions.
Well, and you want to hear the birds. You want to hear the birds chirping.
Absolutely.
There's science that actually says there's benefits to just hearing the birds chirping.
For sure.
Yeah, and we're here in Rochester, New York, for those of you watching other parts. And Rochester is a quote unquote interesting community because when you get north of Yonkers, Rochester has the richest zip code and the poorest zip code. And that might be where you're doing your work. And in all of New York State, upstate. And those two zip codes are literally like 2.5 miles away from each other.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So I heard one guy, he's a PhD at a equity conference, and he said this with sarcasm. He said, the Rochester in its past, when they were designing Rochester, they did a very good job at segmenting Rochester into specific zip codes.
For sure.
And it was obviously quote unquote very good job, right? And now we're trying to unravel that to some extent, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You're doing that great work. So.
Yeah, what you're talking about is redlining, and it wasn't just Rochester. It was a practice, a policy that was sanctioned by our federal government all over the country that really segregated the poorest people in certain parts of communities and the wealthier people in other parts of the communities. And if we were to take a redlining map and lay it over many of Rochester's urban neighborhoods, we would still see those red line communities that are still the poorest sections, and we would see those green line communities that are still the wealthier sections of those neighborhoods.
Yep. So it's not going to, it didn't happen overnight. It's going to get changed overnight.
Absolutely.
But you're doing it, building it brick by brick, as they say,
brick by brick. It's a long-term plan, for sure.
Good for you. Well, thank you for that. And then tell us a little bit about Cent One Consulting.
Yeah, so with my experience with work like Connected Communities, with YWCP, Successful Pathways, other nonprofits that I've run, and many have started from scratch, I've built a lot of experience with building nonprofit enterprises from the ground up. And I have been asked on numerous occasions to come and consult with folks to help them start their nonprofits, to grow their nonprofits, or even nonprofits that are transitioning. Perhaps you have a leader that's been there for 30 years. And now there's a new leader in place, there's a new board, they want to breathe new life into it. And so I started taking some of those contracts, which is really fun. Like, I love building things. I am a builder of sorts, maybe not with a hammer and nails, although I like to do that too.
Right, that's good.
But I definitely do love to build meaningful organizations, missions. And so Cent One Consulting is a boutique firm that allows for me to spend time with founding executive directors, with board of directors. I do governance training. I do all of the policy procedural type of work for those nonprofits to have strong governance and strong policies and practices in place.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing so many things. I don't know how you keep up with it. And then you have this conference, which I want to talk about. But first, with these two organizations, we kind of got reacquainted because we both use an assessment called the Predictive Index in our organizations. I call it the DISC on steroids, right? Because you can do so much more with it, in my opinion.
That's a good name.
And so, but I mean, overall, including the Predictive Index, how you built a great team. You already talked about them. That you literally said it's just not me; it's the team. So obviously, you're optimizing your team. What are some of the things that you do to really make people feel that they belong and give them the power to unleash their value and talents on your cause?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I think we always try to hire for culture over talent to begin with. And so the PI is very, very helpful in us being able to determine if the person is in the right seat on the bus, or in the interview process, if we want to put them in this particular seat, and if that means they will be on the right seat on the bus. And it just helps us with our interpersonal relationships with the team. I do believe that wellness has to be a key focus of any organization, whether it's a nonprofit or for-profit organization. I tell my employees all the time, you're literally no good to me if you don't take care of yourself. And the PI gives people the language that they need to articulate the type of work environment that they need, what their strengths, what their weaknesses are. We talk a little bit about that rubber band, that sometimes people can do jobs that are sort of outside of their natural tendencies, but if they do that for too long, that rubber band is gonna snap. And I wanna make sure they don't snap, especially on me.
Right, yeah, we don't want that, it hurts. That hurts.
So using the PI to not just help me put the folks in the right seat on the bus, but even to help them help each other. And so we use the placard. We have those outside of our door, which tells them what their PI is. And if an employee is getting ready to go
like
talk with one of their
personality prototype.
Exactly.
Right?
If they're getting ready to go and talk with one of their colleagues, we encourage them to pause and take a look at the placard on the door and see, do they need some time to think through this? Do they want to drive? Are they more of an independent thinker? And so it's been really a helpful practice in our organization.
Do you remember what you are?
Yes, I am a maverick.
Mavericks in the house. I would have called that. But your maverick personality is not for everybody.
Right.
Right. So you see a placard on the wall of somebody who's a little bit more reserved, introverted.
Yes.
You guys, all right, let me tone myself down a little bit, right?
Yes, for sure.
Let me ask a question.
Yeah.
Pause. Right.
Yeah.
Ask what their thoughts are. Right.
But I also give people permission to help me to calm down, because I know this about myself, my personality, how I'm wired naturally. When I'm interviewing people or onboarding new staff, I'm very upfront and transparent and say, hey, you might need this based on your PI. Let me tell you what my natural tendency is going to be. I need you to tell me when you need more of whatever it is.
Right.
And that's helpful.
Or less of.
Yes, or less, for sure.
Yeah. No, I remember running a company back in the day. I didn't even know I was a maverick, but just having that personality.
Yeah.
And we had one woman on the team that was doing kind of the website software design, very introverted, right? I'd come with my full personality, and she would I think I scared the heck out of her,
Yeah.
So, and then I realized, let me calm down a little bit.
Yeah. I had an employee tell me this weekend that my joy annoyed them.
Wow. All right. Less joy. Less joy.
So just understanding, where people are at whatever given moment, and how all of what shows up when LaShunda shows up, how it impacts other people is important.
Well, don't lose the
know.
joy.
No,
but maybe for certain people you want to curtail it a little bit, right?
Yes.
Because it also could be contagious, right?
Yes, for sure.
So last but not least, tell us about this Epic Women's Conference. I want to learn more about that. Now, you told me before that I can't come unless I want to volunteer, so maybe I'll do that for you. I'll work with your husband.
Yes, that's good.
But tell us about the Epic Women's Conference. What's the value that women are going to receive by attending it?
Yeah, so the Epic Women's Conference was really birthed out of this idea that we as women are holistic in nature. And so I get to go to tons of professional development, conferences, webinars, you name it, for my career. And I'm also a woman of faith, and so I go to different spiritual events, but never do I get to go to those things that are merged together. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a friend, I'm a daughter. And I just felt like there should be an opportunity for women to come together and be able to learn, grow, develop in all of those different areas: professional development, spirituality, and lifestyle. And so there birthed the Epic Women's Conference. We did our third conference this year in August at the Rochester Convention Center. We'll be doing the fourth conference. It was so successful and we had such positive feedback. It used to be every other year, and now we're turning it to an annual conference.
Awesome. So just great speakers.
Yes.
That can really
Yes, we have a total of 4 keynote speakers. It's 2 days, Friday and Saturday, all day. There are 22 different workshops that people can choose from, basically whatever speaks to them, whatever is most important to them in their life in that particular season. Mm-hmm. And it's just a lot of fun. Great networking, great fellowship with other women.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to sneak in. All right.
I think we'll spot you very easily, but you could try.
That looks like Dave Amell, right? Excellent. Well, LaShunda, this has been so fantastic. Thank you so much for all the great work you're doing in the community. And, and maybe it's a little reminder here, that friend that you were with at Seabreeze, if you want to give her a call,
yes.
Say, hey, thanks again.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, thanks for having me.
If people want to connect with you, learn more about you, your organizations, what's the best way to do that?
Well, there are numerous ways. I mean, for one, folks can Google me and all kinds of things pop up. But our website, connectedcommunitiesrock.org, and then also my website, LaShundaLeslie-Smith.com.
Great. And I was on your LinkedIn this morning as well.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Very good. Well, thank you so much. Very much appreciate your time, sharing some heartbeats with us today. And again, thank you for all the great work you're doing.
It's my pleasure.
Thanks. And thank you, everybody. Thanks for another great episode and interview on the Optimize Show. Again, we're on every Wednesday morning with a new episode. Please go to YouTube, share us, like us. That helps us grow and affect more people. We're trying to really get best practices from incredible people, so that the high tide raises all the ships for everybody. Thanks again. Make sure to have a great day and stay awesome.